I'm racing a 100-mile ultramarathon at least every month for the third year in a row. Welcome to my training vlog. Hi, Simon here. Welcome to my channel and welcome to my training vlog. On this channel, you will find ultra running documentary about the 100-mile ultramarathon I'm racing, the last one being Leadville 100 mile, which I just published a few days ago. I also provide a lot of tips that comes from a lot of experience, having raced 4,500 miler myself, but also tips that are transparent, honest, and meant for mid-packer, normal people with normal life, busy life, that just want to have great adventure. But today is episode 11 of my training vlog. The training vlog is really just a diarrhea of the preparation that goes into training, preparing for all of the races that I'm doing, and providing some feedback as to what went well, what I would change. This episode is probably going to be fairly short. My last race was less than 2 weeks ago, Leadville 100 mile. And the next race that is coming up is the biggest race of the year for me. That's my A goal. That's also probably the toughest race I'll ever do. Tour du Géant in Italy. 200 mile with about 80,000 feet of elevation gain. That's basically doing twice Ure 100 mile, which is the hardest race I've ever done, at least according to myself. Pretty hardcore race, but also an epic adventure. I'm very excited to be in the Italian Alps. That's the first time I'll actually be trail running over there. I visited the area a few years ago when I was studying in Europe for my PhD, but being back for that will be extremely special. Even more exciting is that we'll be able, Nora and I, to take some vacation time, some days off finally. And it's actually the first time that we're traveling together abroad. So that's very exciting, and going in the mountain I think is the perfect place for us. That's something that we both love. That's something that we share together, and we'll be sharing a lot of miles together. Because before doing Tour du Géant, what we're gonna do is Tour du Mont-Blanc. So not the race UTMB itself, but the same course, although we're gonna go reverse, self-support, sleeping in little cabins, basically having a great adventure. And you know, when you're racing 100 mile and you race through the night, you don't see all of the landscape. So we're gonna see everything, the full course. We're gonna take our time and have this great adventure. But that also means that I'll be trail running, hiking, power hiking, about 300 mile in the Alps over a 2 weeks period. So that's gonna be pretty intense, especially given the elevation gain, especially given how many races I've been doing recently. So the past 2 weeks really was a lot of recovery, and coincidence happened that work was busy, so it was a good coincidence. But actually, I think the past 2 weeks have been the week I've done the less physical exercise since I can't even remember for how long, probably 5 years. And it doesn't feel great. I wish I had been able to do a little bit more. But again, this channel is meant to be very transparent, and being transparent means that sometimes I'll come in front of you and say, hey, my training kind of sucked over the past 2 weeks. I don't have a really good excuse other than I was really busy with work, and it's not dramatic because I'm recovering and healing ahead of those big adventure. But I'm feeling pretty bad about the 2 weeks that happened. I think I've only had like one real workout in 2 weeks, which is not that much. So first we raced Leadville 100 mile. Please have a look at that video. That was actually fantastic. We had so many friends that were racing, and seeing people at the finish line, finishing in the golden hours. I mean, that was perfect. That was a perfect day. But we were struggling, and also we try as much as possible with Nora. When we can drive to a race, we try to drive. That's saving us money. I'm not sponsored, so money is kind of tight for the channel. So we drove there, and that's a solid 16 hour to get there and 16 hour to come back. So actually Sunday and Monday we were just driving back, working during the day in a Starbucks, and then driving in the evening. So no workout at all. We start on Tuesday, just a small recovery walk, nothing exciting. I was still healing from everything. But it's a pattern that I continued up until Thursday, just having a little walk during the day. And I was starting to be a little bit busier than I would have wanted to. Thursday though, I was able to do a little bit of cycling at the gym, nothing very intense, just about 30 minutes at 140 watts. So it's not really pushing it for me, but it's better than nothing. It's more intense than simply walking. And then I was able to jump in for a small sauna session. Also, one of the things that has happened is because I'll be away for 2 weeks in a row without much service connection, we wanted to record some podcast episode with my friend Coach Brian, so our Buckle Up podcast, and we had a few recordings that were related to Leadville. By the time you see this, I think at least 1 or 2 episodes will be out, so I suggest you have a look either at the channel on YouTube or on Spotify. Those are very interesting stories of overcoming adversity. But of course that means that, that's adding a few hours of recording. Friday, same thing. I had a little bit of time to walk. I had a little bit of time for a small jog, but it was the movie premiere of Angeles Crest. And if you've been following my channel, you might or might not know that when I release an ultra running documentary, especially recently, I try as much as possible to organize a live premiere where I'll be joining, I'll be in the chat. You can ask your question, we can talk. If you were there, you can let me know how your day was. I think that's a great way to connect with everyone. Usually I announce these on my Instagram. Also, I try to put it on YouTube, but it's still harder on YouTube to kind of announce these things. So if you want to keep up to date as to when I'm releasing a movie, go on Instagram. Usually though, it's only a day or 2 that I'm able to give a heads up because the movie needs to be uploaded and ready to go. And actually the latest movie, the Leadville 100 Mile, which by the time this is coming out should already be released. The only time I could find for a premiere was just before boarding our flight. So if you've attended the Leadville one, I was actually at the airport watching that just before boarding for the great adventure with Nora, which I'm very excited to do, but also very excited to share with you guys. Saturday, just a small run with Nora. And Sunday, finally, the only real workout was a long run with Nora, a zone 2. We did 14 miles, some rolling hills, but mostly it was fairly runnable. But it was smack in the middle of the day. It was really hot for both of us. We really had to push a little bit, and that was the last time I actually had a real workout because we're moving to next week. So this week, Monday, I only had time for a little walk. Tuesday, I was able to go to the gym for a pretty short riding session, but decently intense in terms of what it was, 180 for 30 minutes. So that was a good workout. You're sweating. I could push a little further than that or harder than that, but that was pretty decent. And then a little bit of a sauna session. Wednesday, no time, small walk again. And Thursday, I had a decent ride. I had a short sauna session. But as you can see, for the full week, no running, pretty low intensity workout, just short cycling session. And that was not necessarily by design. It was a lack of time. And in fact, sleeping was not great because I had to work pretty much through the night twice already this week. The trip is coming up, so I have so many things to do. But I think in the end, it might turn out to be perfect because we're doing Tour du Mont-Blanc starting, I think, Sunday. So it's coming really fast and at least I'll be well rested for that. And honestly, we're super excited about it. We just finished packing. I'm recording this. I'm going to edit it very quickly and then I'm going to post it ahead of time because the cool stuff is not this episode. This was the preparing for that. And a lot of things are logistic, which I think it would be kind of boring to share with you, but if that's something, maybe you want to do Tour du Mont-Blanc, I can let you know maybe in a future video how we kind of went into organizing that ourselves, because you can hire a tour or something like that, but we decide, we're just going to do it by ourselves at our own rhythm so we can push a little bit more the miles, and it feels a little bit more like an adventure to organize everything, but it's a little bit more work.
So I'm getting a crown for myself. I got a crown for myself because I think I'm worth it. We're all royalty.
And that's it, folks, for the episode. That was my preparation. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm just whining about not having time, but look, my channel is meant to be transparent. Sometimes it is boring. Sometimes being transparent and honest is not glamorous. I'm not always doing these crazy workouts. I wish I could. I wish I had the time. It's just not the reality of my life right now. And hopefully, that's something that you can relate to. Sometimes we're really busy and we have to prioritize what's more important in our life. And of course, I love trail running. I love being out there, both racing, but also simply exercising and spending time with my wife. But sometimes it's just not in the card. Life is not perfect, training is not perfect, and despite not having this kind of good preparation ahead of these races, especially the biggest race of my life, I know I'll find ways to do it, or I'll try to find ways to do it. So I guess the moral really is like, if that happened to you, you know, in your training cycle, or even just before a race, your training gets totally disrupted, don't freak out too much. It happens. It's a bummer. Like I'm not happy about it. I wish I could be more joyful about it, but the joy is coming up soon. A lot of exciting stuff coming on the channel. So anyway, thanks for watching. I know this is not the most useful one, but hopefully you appreciate the transparency and the understanding that training are not always perfect, and training sometimes is kind of boring. That's the reality, right? But cool adventures in the weekend, and you can have these adventures too. So if you appreciate the video or the transparency, please leave a thumbs up. Thanks for watching, and see you with some exciting stuff very soon.